everybody. It's that time once again for another episode of the NBP Show. And as always, I'm your host, Commissioner Daltmick, bringing you the latest action here in NBP. So, I had to make a second take. I got like over halfway through the show and my battery died on my phone, ran out of space, something along the line, but it stopped recording 20 minutes in. And I was like just closing things up. And I really didn't have a way to like seam it together. So here we are. This show may appear a little bit rushed, but with all the technical difficulties and all the madness going out in the world, why wouldn't it happen? You know what I mean? So here we are. Week 5 recap. We had Old World taking on New World for the second week in a row here, which we'll start it off with Cold Hearts versus Saltworks. That is 4th place taking on 4th place. We got Joe Cole and the Meat Men, the Chaos Warriors out of Saltworks, taking on S130 South and the Wapley Wonders, the Dark Elf teams. Two dark, chaotic teams here. Both like to bash, one a little more agile than the other. And the agile team would kind of show off here as they displayed their athletic prowess in a 2-0 victory here, scoring twice against the Meatmen 0. Then we have Dan Boyd, X, and Isha's Finest Warriors, the Wood Elves, replacing Omega Deviants, Blood Moon Wanderers, the Necro team there in Cold Hearts, up against the Godzillios Blitz Among Us Vampires. That's the team, Blitz Among Us. They are vampires up against the Wood Elves. Another agile matchup here. We got the agile Wood Elves and the agile vampires squaring off on the pitch. But the dice kind of fell flat a few times for the vampires here in some very key moments, resulting in no touchdowns. It should have been a 1-1 apparently, but the Elves were able to steal the ball back and score to make it 2-0 after already scoring early in the game. And then that cements a really good debut here for Dan. We had an interview here that I lined up. And it wasn't the last cut, but it's after midnight here, and I may just go ahead and post that or save that for a later time, but kind of the gist of it here is, let's see, we'll kind of cover it real quick, and I would like to get some more coach interviews on the show, because we basically just mentioned he was recently called up and was asking what his thoughts here. And he just mentioned that he was a little nervous. He's only been a coach for about 3 months, and he debuted here in the pros after getting scouted. And he says it's a game of 2 halves. You can only be as good as your opponent. If you're battling a fungus, then you're not really showing what you have. And luckily, my opponent was tough enough for me to show my elf expertise. That is his quote. And we asked him what he thought about his division. And he says he has a strategy for every team in his division, and he's looking to win his division and take a playoff spot. So we'll have to see how he performs here over the next 3 weeks, and we'll see those results later as the weeks advance. He did just want to say a huge thank you to the boys in the locker room. I believe he's addressing his team here. This is his quote here. It isn't easy taking his strategies and manipulating them into plays, but it's appreciated. He'd like to say that Godzillios deserved the draw, but he counted on those easy moves and knew it was too many in a row. That's a reference to Godzillios rolling a 1 late in the game there to kind of seal the deal on losing the ball. And finally, thanks for having him. He likes the opportunity to be more than a coach, being a personality when the end of the action is an experience he wouldn't trade for a lot. He said, but maybe a date with a war dancer, but who wouldn't? And then we move on to 2 versus 2. That is JG 1357 and the Halloween Plebs of the Necro team of Cold Hearts taking on Knockout Joe and Praise the Joe, the human team from Saltworks. and that would be a 3-1 victory for the Halloween plebs. The Werewolves would manage to handle the ball quite well, and I think they had like 2 touchdowns apiece or something, or 1 touchdown and for one and 2 for the other, because both Werewolves leveled up in that match there, and the strength up ghoul that they bought on transfer tended to help them out there. So very good to see that the transfer is helping the Halloween plebs out there, but unfortunate that Joe was not able to get the draw or the win there, because he had a chance to gain some footing in his division, but he ended up falling back, which brings us up to the first place team of these division. Bubba Tattoo and the Pollinaire Keg Killers, the Dwarves, taking on Fury Venon and Mork's Orcs, the Orc Squad out of Saltworks. This is a clash of the first place teams, and it would be just that. Both bash teams here, they're going to bash each other for the entire game, it seemed, but the strength of the Orcs was just too much to handle for the Dwarves, as they managed to, have their way with the Dwarves and score 2 times to cement a 2-0 victory. Now, we're going to move on up to Beheaded Kings versus Deep Dark, and that is the 4th place squads here, Cook 9000 and NWO out of Deep Dark, the Chaos team, taking on Kodak Cookie, Small and Mighty, the Ogre team out of Beheaded Kings. The resident ogre expert here with Cody Cookie taking on the Chaos. And this would be a very wild game, because we'd see the ogre score early, go up 1-0, but then an ogre would get pulled off the pitch and lots of Noblars would take injury as NWO grab a touchdown late with the man advantage. So a very nice showing there between the Chaos team, making the 1-1 game. Now we have Blake Nut 666 and a bag of chodes from Beheaded Kings, the Dwarfs, another dwarf team there, both Australian coaches playing dwarves, as we have Shushnik and In the Shadows, the vampire team out of Deep Dark. This has been a very tumultuous season for the vampires, because they seem to be having a very bad string of dice. It's kind of the situation where the veteran coach, Shushnik, we all know he's a great coach and he's had great performances here in NBP, but the vampires are just betraying him here, because they continue to, the Thrall continue to get pulled off the pitch and not really, perform very well. And then we see the dice just kind of fall flat. So we have the Dwarf team who managed to score 3-0 in this game and take a commanding lead despite their, slow movement. But I think they just had a really high man advantage that worked in their favor. So now we take on the second place matchup. Sorry, I'm just checking how much time I have on my recording. I don't want this to go off again and make a third take. But here we are, breaking the fourth wall. Wheelie365 and Boxing Clever, the Orcs out of Beheaded Kings, taking on DKM96 and Malevolent Malware, the Chaos team out of Deep Dark, the second place Chaos team. So this game would start with the Chaos squad receiving the ball and getting hit with a wizard, but the wizard only hit the ball carrier and the ball stayed within the cage. So it really helped out the Chaos team there, as they managed to score very late in the first and then have to kick for the second half, where the Orcs would grind and bash their way down the field and then eventually make a crazy play that involved a lineman making some GFIs to pick up a ball and pass, and then a score by a blitzer who caught the ball. I think the dice there was 5-6-5 or 5-6-6, something like that. Some high number that very much guaranteed the success of this pass play to tie the game up at the last of the game. Then we had Pong Hines and the Ro Ryan Magics out of Beheaded Kings, the Wood Elves there, taking on Kamikozy, the returning champion from last season, and Get Confident Stupid with his Lizard Men, and a game that would have a very weird turn of events, because the Lizard Men would have a chance to score in the first of the game, but I think they elected not to take it, if I'm remembering correctly, stating that the Wood Elves had a one-turner, so they didn't want to give the one-turner a chance to score, and they left it 0-0 at the half, and then the Wood Elves were able to score twice. They scored twice in the second half, pulling a few Saurus off the pitch, maybe some skinks there, and just kind of commanding the ball after that and scoring 2-0 to grab the win there. And then we have our next matchup, which is Ancient Empires and Tar and Feather. Fourth place is Play Bear and the Cure, the Nurgle squad, up against Matt Zucador and Yu-Gi-Oh! The Skaven team. Usually in this matchup, you would probably favor the Nurgle team at this TV because they've got skills. They've got the disturbing presence there to help with agility and ball actions, but it just wouldn't be enough in this shootout where teams just were scoring back to back because the very last possession of the game on the very last turn would go to Matt Zucador and the Skaven team, who have a one-turner. They claim another victim here as they score in one turn on the last turn of the game while it's tied 2-2 to make it 3-2 for themselves and grab that late win. It's always crazy when you see a game that should be a draw turn into a win due to, just a single player like that. But it's always a beautiful sight to see a one-turn touchdown when you can. Now we have Legend T 969 and the Nagaroth Bolts, the Dark Elf team out of Ancient Empires, taking on Juan C 1103 and the Thundercats. Thundercats OFC. The Wood Elf team, a little preview of the Delph Mental showdown there. Elf versus Elf on the pitch. Everybody loves an agility battle. An agility battle this would be. It would seem that the Tree Man of the Wood Elves would not pose too much of a threat to the Bolts as they bashed and dashed their way down the field, causing the Wood Elf team to crash as they scored only one touchdown and the Bolts would score 3. So a 3-1 victory here for the Ancient Empire squad, adding another win to the column for the Old World in this showdown. The Old World is absolutely decimating the competition in this week 4 and 5 matchup situation. Now, we have fantastic Dr. J, a co-host of the show. Hopefully we'll get him a segment on the show this season. Maybe that would be very nice. We've seen him on here before. And his Orc team, NBP Park Life, taking on Rebel Knight and the Turf Pirates. That's Orcs versus Chaos Dwarf. Two very bashy teams that would bash and just slash each other the entire game. A very physical, grinding game. If you haven't saw the Cabal Vision or Fantastic Dr. J stream, do yourself a favor and go back and check that out, because it was an amazing display of Blood Bowl by both of these coaches and both of these teams. But at the end, only one stood strong and tall as the victor, and that was Fantastic Dr. J, who managed to score early and then prevent a late touchdown by Rebel as the dice just kind of fell out of the Chaos Dwarf's favor there. So a 1-0 victory for NBP Park Life. Now we have the last matchup out of A&E versus TNF. That is Jonah 2005 UK, the Haunting of Men, the league leader and the conference leader, taking on yours truly, Dalt MC, Dalt Mech, and Baphomot's Bestowed, the Chaos team. And this would be a very crazy matchup, to say the least. I think I've already said that about another matchup, but here we are. As the Undead team would receive in the first half, and then attempt to use a wizard that would fail as they were on their offensive drive. And then I would manage to get the ball there and kind of nudge it down the field a little bit and score late in the first half, sending it to the half 1-0 in my favor. But then I would receive and my offense would go awry as the Undead were able to get into my backfield and hassle me enough that they pop the ball out, and then some ghouls get the ball, run it down to my goal line where I would try to make a stand. but it would come down to the very last play in the last turn where the Ghouls were able to get the ball free and get down and score for the 1-1. So that's actually the only game of the season they haven't won yet, and it was so close to a win for me, but it wasn't quite there. So now let's cover some standings. Before we cover standings, let's cover some Old World records. Going into Week 5, Old World was 7-3-2 with 15 total touchdowns scored and 8 against. And then they follow that amazing performance up with an even better performance, arguably, when they go 5-6-1 in the matchups against Old World. Only one Old World team lost in Week 5. 19 total touchdowns, 8 against. You add all that up, they had 12 total wins, 9 draws, and only 3 losses over 2 weeks. There, 34 total scored, 16 against. So Old World is out here showing out. They're hungry for the postseason. They're hungry to make a name for themselves in NBP. Every single team. So it's very, very vicious out here. Now let's cover division standings, conference standings within the division standings within the conference, I should say. We'll start it off with Old World. Might as well. Cold Hearts, bottom of the list. S130 South and Wapley Wonders, 2-1-2, 5 total league points. Then Dan Boyd X and Isha's Finest Warriors, 2-1-2, 5 total league points. So they're tied there for third place. Only touchdowns SPP separate them. Then Bubba Tattoo falling to second after losing to Morks Orcs, the Pollinaire Keg Killers. They're 3-1-1 with 7 total league points. Now, top place in Cold Hearts Division, JG 1357 and the Halloween Plebs. They're 4-0-1 with 8 total league points. So a very tight division there. It's anybody's division for the playoff spot there in that division in Cold Hearts. Now we go up to Beheaded Kings. We have Kodak Cookies, Small and Mighty. They're 0-2-4. 2 total league points there in 4th place. They have a chance at playoffs, but they're pretty close to mathematically eliminated at this point. We may see them get a wild card, or we could see some shenanigans here and see them win the division somehow. We'll have to see how everything shakes out. Blake Nuts 666, a bag of chodes. They're 3-1-2 with 7 total league points in 3rd place. And then we move on up to 2nd place with also 7 total league points. Really kind of a tie. The only difference is like touchdown differential. It's really neck and neck between those two teams. We have the 2-3-0. Let's see. Oh, Blake has already played. I should have got that record before then because he's already played his game and so is Small and Mighty. So you kind of get a preview there of Week 5. But yes, 3rd place is 3. He's actually 2-1-2 in this record, and 0-2-3 at a Kodak Cookie there for 1 total league point. Sorry, they've already played their Week 5 game, so that's a spoiler for next week's episode. Sorry. 2-3-0 for Wheelie, 7 total league points, and then 1st place, 3-2-0 is Pong Hines with 8 total league points. Now, moving up to Ancient Empires, we have Matt Zucador and Yu-Gi-Oh! 1-2-2, 4 total league points. And then we go up to 3rd, Legend T 969 and the Nagarath Bolts. They're 2-2-1, 6 total league points. 2nd place, kind of a shuffle here. They're kind of tied, to be honest. We have Fantastic Dr. J and NBP Park Life, 3-0-2, 6 total league points. Finally, 1st place in both, I believe, the league and the division. Jonah 2005 UK, The Haunting of Men. They're 4-1-0, 9 total league points. Now we'll hop on over to the division standings of the New World, the USA coaches, Play Bear and The Cure, 1-0-4, 2 total league points. This is the tightest division in the entire Old World, or New World, I should say. It's anybody's division still. Anything can happen here, and really any of these 4 teams we can see in the playoffs. Wansi 1103 and Thundercats FC. They're 1-1-3 with 3 total league points. Then we have Rebel Knight and the Turf Pirates. They're 1-2-2 with 4 total league points. Now we have yours truly and Baphomets Bestowed. We're 2-2-1 with 6 total league points. Moving on up to Saltworks, we have Joe Cole Jr. and 1313. Meat Men, their total record is 0-0-5. They have yet to get a league point or a win here, but they do have a touchdown, and they are developing pretty well, but they are at this point mathematically eliminated from winning their division or a wild card spot. So we do hope to see them back next season, and we do hope to see them developing their team here on these last few games and potentially upsetting some of these high-ranked teams in their division, shaking up the playoffs. We could see some crazy upset games here from them as they're still trying to get their first win here. So we could see it, or a first draw. A draw against those guys would probably be considered an upset if it's the Morks there. So we'll have to see how things shake out. Third place is Godzilla's and Blitz Among Us. They're 1-1-3 total record with 3 league points. Followed by second place, Knockout Joe. They're 1-2-2 with 4 total league points. And then finally, first place is Saltworks, Fury of Anon, and Morks Orcs. 4-0-1, 8 total league points. So they're kind of running away with the division there, but it still is potential. There still is potential for Blitz Among Us and Praise the Joe to kind of catch up there and grab that spot or potentially a wild card spot. But we'll just have to see. Deep Dark Division. We have Cook 9000 and NWO. He's 0-1-4 after week 5 with 1 total league point. Followed by Shushnik in the Shadows, 1-0-4, 2 total league points. We could still see those guys come out, but they're on the bubble. They're potentially eliminated or, from their division / wild card, but anything can happen. It could be a possibility they make a really great run here at the end of the season and the other teams fall apart. So we'll have to see with that. Second place out of Deep Dark, DKM 96 and Malevolent Malware. They're 3-1-1, 7 total league points. Followed by Kamikoze and Get Confident Stupid, 4-0-1 with 8 total league points. So that's kind of the shakedown there. If we were to go to playoffs, like say next week, we're not because we still have 3 weeks to play, but the playoff hopefuls so far are going to be your division leaders. You're going to have Jonah 2005 UK and the Haunting of Men would grab Ancient Empires. This is if we cut today. Followed by Pong Hines and the Orion Magics from Beheaded Kings would grab the next spot. And then JG 1357 and the Halloween Plebs with 8 total league points would grab Cold Hearts. So that would be your 3 guaranteed division winners there. And then wild card would come down to potentially Bubba Tattoo and the Pollinaire Keg Killers, Wheelie 365 and Boxing Clever. So that's like the wild card bubble. We would have to have a friendly tiebreaker game there between the two to decide who is the wild card out of Old World Conference. And then we would see out of Deep Dark, Kamikoze, 8 total league points, taking that. Fury of Anon, Morks Orcs, taking Saltworks for 8 total league points. And then me with 6 league points, taking Tar and Feather, with the wild card team being DKM and Malevolent Malware. We would see the top team play the lowest team, and then the second place team playing the third place team in those situations. So there is some lookouts, potential hopefuls. We're going to cover second place, Rebel Knight and the Turf Pirates, Knockout Joe and Praise the Joe. Those are also some potential wild card winners here that if we cut like right now. But that's kind of the playoff bubble situation. We'll cover some conference standings, the top 5. You can see the full conference standings in the Discord channels. Top is Jonah 2005 UK and the Haunting of Men. And then we have Pong Hines and Orion Magics taking on second. JG 1357 and the Halloween Plebs for third. Bubba Tattoo and the Pollinaire Keg Killers for fourth. Wheelie 365 and Boxing Clever taking on fifth place. So that's the top 5 of Old World. Now New World, top 5, Fury of Anon and Morks Works, followed by Kamikoze and Get Confident Stupid. Third place, DKM 96 and Malevolent Malware. Fourth place, yours truly and Baphomets Bestowed. Fifth place, Rebel Knight and the Turf Pirates. That is the top 5 for New World Conference. If you want to see the full 12 for New World or Old World, it's in their respective channels on Discord. Now, league standing wise, we'll cover the top 5 here. Got a lot of Old World in the top 5 this week. Jonah 2005 is first, Ponghines is second, JG is third, Fury of Anon fourth, Kamakozy fifth, and then some honorable mentions. We got Bubba Tattoo, Wheelie 365, and 6 and 7 respectively. And then we'll cover top 10, why not? We got airtime. DKM 8, Fantastic Dr. J 9, and me at number 10, just on the bubble there, really. So it's really anybody's divisions for the most part. There are a few teams that are kind of eliminated that I mentioned earlier, but the league is still wide open with lots of opportunities to grab some playoff spots. So don't lose hope just yet if you're in second or third place, and a few of you if you're in fourth place. There's still hope, unless I mention that you were mathematically eliminated. And as the weeks go, next week we may cover some more eliminated, some people who just are not going to be able to catch up after the week 6 games are covered. But I hope this episode wasn't too bad. I think the first cut was a little bit better, but we'll never know because it's deleted now, and I ran out of space, and it was only halfway finished. So for like 15 minutes, I was just not even recording anything that I was saying. I was just talking into air, I guess, making a rehearsal run, if you will. But I hope everybody's having a great time and staying safe out there during all of this coronavirus situation. I'm sure some of you are all tired of hearing about it, but I think we're going to be hearing about it for a while. So we might as well find something enjoyable, and I hope this is enjoyable to you, not too long, trying to keep it at these 30-minute marks as I continue to run out of time here. My camera may cut off again. Yeah, so I'm going to wrap this up. If you liked it, thumbs up. If you hated it, thumbs down. You got suggestions? Hit them in the comments below. If you liked something and you want to tell me you liked it, comments below again. That interaction helps out the YouTube channel. And by now you may be seeing some end screens here for the playlist. This always gets added to the NBP Show playlist. If you want to go back and catch some episodes you missed, they're over here. Definitely recommend going and checking that very first one and comparing it to now, or some of that. I would say the last episode, or maybe the episode before the last. I think the episode before last was probably the best one of the show so far. But, you know, it's hard to critique your own work accurately. But, again, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you all have a great day. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Helps out the YouTube channel, as I will. And then also, you know, you'll get updated when a new one comes out before I post it in the Discord. But other than that, that's all I got for you. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe.